Hi there. My name is Jamie Smith, and I am from Modernize Home Services, powered by Quinn Street. I'm very excited to be with you guys today in Email Camp 2020, focusing on building your Campfire kit. We're going to be looking at customer feedback loops to fire up your product. So what that means is we're going to be going through the methods of measurement. Our first try of measurement, when we try to really understand, okay, how are we going to measure this product? What happened? And then some of the lessons that we've learned. Just a little bit about myself. I've been in the marketing automation world for almost 14 years now. I have been in marketing automation consulting. I've worked with customers like NASCAR, Johnson & Johnson, Texas Instruments. It runs the gamut from entertainment, sports, all the way to medical devices. So it's a pretty cool journey. And excitingly, about 3 years ago, I started working with Modernize. And Modernize is a company that is established leader in the home improvement marketing. We've been in business for about 15 years, and we've recently been acquired by Quinn Street in July. So it's been a really crazy and exciting time for us at Modernize. In the last 3 years, $1.2 billion was generated by our customers, which we are so proud of. And what we do, Modernize connects more than 100,000 homeowners to contractors each month to complete projects. We focus on projects from your roof to replacing your windows to reviewing maybe some plumbing or getting flooring done. We do it all. And I like to say that we focus on really stressful and expensive home improvement projects, but we really strive to be the leader in home improvement by matching and creating this marketplace of homeowners and contractors. A little bit about the story of homeowner success. When Modernize reached out to bring me on board, they were really focused on the mission around homeowner experience, but they didn't know how to start. And what we were really trying to understand is when you have a contractor who needs to come into a home to measure windows or fix a window or see, with your kitchen remodel, you have to, understand different tile sets and backsplashes. That one-to-one communication has to happen in person. I like to consider us a little bit of Uberifying the industry, just because of what we have to do to match that one-to-one communication that has to happen in person when homeowners are seeing nowadays everything being digital, from boxes on your porch every day from Amazon to Uber, for example, getting a ride wherever you are. So it's a really big challenge for us. And we built this team called Homeowner Success. And our focus was, all right, we walked in and we said, foundation. What is the foundation? Knowing our homeowners. When you're thinking about any kind of communication or any kind of product optimization, understanding your consumer is first and foremost. So we sat in the foundation to understand our homeowners. And once we started to understand our homeowners, we then developed and created strategies to help them. And then the roof, of course, the key piece of the house is to create that homeowner satisfaction and monitor the success within those strategies that you're developing to really help bridge the gap between the homeowner and the contractor when you're talking about the entire experience of matching them to a contractor. So with more than 100,000 homeowners a month, how would we even know if we made an impact? So we started to understand homeowners. We were like, okay, I think we can create these guides or empowerment, calculators. We can do all of these things to really help create this impact. But how do you measure it? How do you measure that offline communication in that way? So this is what we did. We first mapped it out. I think a lot of you probably know about journey mapping and Post-its on the wall, and we did all of that. Just try to understand where could we find a moment that mattered that we could then ask for feedback and really understand how that experience was with our product. So we found the moment that matters. And then we just decided, how do we start now? We were a 3-person team. We were not technical engineers. We were marketing automation technologists and experts. I would say that I am pretty dangerous when it comes to being technical, but I'm nowhere near where an engineer would sit. And I like it that way. So the question was, how do you start now? And how do you start to build an experience and measure it without all of the technical resources, but really trying to understand and drive product decisions. So we did that by email. So email was our big start. You can see here, this was 2018. This is how we started. Pretty old school layouts of emails, but it really started to help us understand, okay, will a homeowner open an email that we send, and will they respond if we ask them to click a button to give us some feedback? And that turned into a lot of success just by sending an email with a click that had a Google UTM parameter that we could say, oh, okay, X amount of homeowners were completing projects, which to us is the end-all be-all success metric. So just by sending a few different emails within the journey, after we mapped it, we got to here, which was okay. And then we turned to 2019, and 2019 has all of this different communication where we started to add elements of product experience to help the homeowner experience. So nurturing and giving a homeowner information on pricing before they talk to a contractor was something we wanted to test. We wanted to understand, hey, will this homeowner complete a job if we send an email? And that's what we did, which is where we are. And then now in 2020, I'm super proud to say that all of the different experiences that we've built through email and SMS have created this huge web platform that's all through personalized email campaigns and cadences with this Homeowner Resource Center, which has a ton of calculators for homeowners to get estimates on their project immediately, a method to connect with their contractors that they've been matched with almost immediately. We have an entire review system of homeowners that have completed jobs that are providing us reviews, which we've generated over 3,000 so far in this year just from us launching this product. And of course, everything is embedded with SMS too as a complement to email, but it really is a testament to us starting to build our product with email and using that feedback that we were getting through email to build this experience. So we talked about the experience, we talked about the product, we talked about how email is embedded into the product, but how do you create homeowner satisfaction and then monitor the success? Again, because it's definitely an offline communication that you don't have control over. You are asking a contractor who is in Minnesota to go and drive to a homeowner that's requested your services. That's a hard thing to do without some kind of technology, but also you have to guarantee that it's happening. So we wanted to make sure that we created some feedback loops through email to monitor success of these different programs that we were building within our products. So we created a method of measurement. In 2018, in addition to the small email cadence that we started with, we started building out customer satisfaction surveys and NPS. I think a lot of you have seen these in your own emails. And for us, again, we just wanted quick feedback. We wanted to see if something was actually working or not. So all of these emails, which you see here, were just embedded again with Google UTM parameters and then with Google Events through Tag Manager to really help support if we were doing a good job or not with the different experiences that we were promoting. What we learned is that NPS surveys can really help. And I think we started off with, okay, let's send an email and see what happens. And we learned that that this is a good way to measure satisfaction, but it wasn't measuring product offerings or our product itself. It wasn't telling us why things were happening. And ultimately, the other thing that we knew was that people were responding through email. They would answer an email from us. And it was something where we didn't have to do a lot of heavy lifting, because all we focused on was building out the email, tagging it, and then driving responses. So we did get to a point where we could understand who our advocates were, but it wasn't driving any kind of changes that we were trying to make in our product. So we tried again. So that method of measurement, although it is an industry standard in a lot of product offerings, it wasn't teaching us what we needed personally. And I think that that's really important, and a good takeaway is to really start to analyze, what you want to learn about your product or about your experience, right? Maybe it's a nurture stream, maybe it's maybe it's a mobile app, whatever it is. I think it's really important to sit down and think about what you're trying to learn from the questions that you're asking. And that's what we did. We mapped out the questions that we wanted answered and how we could build a feedback loop accordingly. We spent 20 hours, and this is my team actually, we sat down and we spent 20 hours mapping out the homeowner journey and the different questions that we had within the experience. And then we really tried to analyze, okay, if we wanted to ask this question about our appointments product, where a homeowner is booking an appointment with a contractor, can we actually really support that product offering and add more benefits to it, or find something wrong with it? So that was a big piece of our work. And then everything was surrounded around how we could get feedback faster. We used a blind form submit through that UTM parameter to capture the feedback from the homeowner. And at this time, we didn't have as much buy-in from our product team, because the first initial data set that we had really wasn't actionable, but we believed that this was going to be the case. So we used a form processing role to send this information to the product and account managers immediately. They were getting real-time feedback the minute we would send a drop of email. And again, ultimately, just to really get them back in and see, like, okay, this is what we're seeing now. How do we answer? And this is a little bit of the different experiences that we use within email. You can see we tested a ton of different variations to this, all with buttons to achieve what we were trying to achieve, which is ultimately feedback on the experience and on the product. And what we found through our first initial data set of sending these emails was that 18% of homeowners reported a contractor not showing up for our digital appointments product. And that contact rate, so even them booking an appointment and hearing from a contractor, was 15 to 22%. And just seeing that, you can see that something's wrong almost immediately, which isn't great, but it was fantastic, because with our small and mighty team and email and focusing on the feedback directly from the homeowner through email, we were able to gather these results very, very quickly. So this is what we learned from that after we moved from NPS and CSAT to really just button-based, email-driven feedback. We began to test the email creative, and we learned almost immediately that sending a personalized email to the customer, to the homeowner, increased click-through rate by 2%. Just associating a human being asking for feedback helped us tremendously. We used a person named Jenny, very close to Jamie, and was capturing all of that feedback that way, just to help support and increase feedback. We also used a personalized from name, so also Jenny instead of assistants. What that happened, we have some lower quality sources that were starting to provide us feedback as well, which increased ultimately 2% of feedback too. The third and fourth thing that we learned are really critical to the entire program around homeowner success was that we immediately started seeing our product team coming to us for more questions to be answered. They realized the value of feedback and how important email was to the entire cadence from a homeowner standpoint. They would literally come from the other side of the office all the way to us and say, hey, did you see what that homeowner just said? Can we talk about it? And that showed tremendous value and also an additional variable for us to add into our experience, which we hadn't even analyzed how that was from the homeowner side of us asking them how their project was going. And number four, which is the biggest one, is that we eliminated a product that upon review of these homeowner feedback streams that we had, we actually were losing money because the product wasn't performing. And it wasn't until we saw those trigger points that were coming from that data that we realized we needed to take a deeper dive, which ultimately at the end of the day shows how customer experience, user experience, and customer success, all of those combined equal customer retention and ultimately ROI. So lastly, with this very large case study, I think the most important takeaway is that it's very easy to get started. So how do you get started? I highly recommend taking a few hours to focus on building the right questions. You'll see that this has been a 2.5 to 3 year journey for us. And we've learned a lot and we've really started to understand and make changes. And ever since we added a specific step in our process to developing any kind of feedback loop with an email or any other communication mechanism, we always take at least a few hours to review the question. Really, and it's very, 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 very diligent on our end. We want to write the survey question out and ask ourselves, what are you trying to learn from this question? It's truly a spreadsheet that we say, okay, this is the question, what's the output? And then we always try to make sure that at least 3 colleagues review these questions before we test anything. Because the beautiful thing about embedding and thinking about email as a feedback loop is that you can pretty much deploy an email very, very quickly. But it also can be a little bit dangerous if you're not asking others for feedback before you send it. So make sure you're sending the right question. Take the time because it will be well worth it when you do get a data set that you can actually work with. And start with email, use UTMs. We immediately sent an email with those buttons. We added UTMs so that we could read what was happening in Google Analytics. And the minute that we started seeing indicators of responses, then we started moving to Google Tag Manager. I know there's a lot of technical folks and there's a lot of product people, and they want everything to be tied exactly to the users. They can look at it in this beautiful CRM or pull all the data and start to slice and dice it. And I really do think that a lot of the success that we've had with the feedback loop is because we just started running with it and learning as we went. So I highly suggest just throw in some UTMs into an email, start there, see what happens. And from there, use your free tool, Google Analytics and Google Tag Manager, and then start analyzing. And another thing, which if you don't know about it, Google Data Studio is amazing. It's really how we started to get our product team to start immediately coming as fast as possible, not just us sending all of the feedback, but then analyzing the results. Google Data Studio has an amazing Google Analytics integration. You can slice and dice everything on UTMs. You can break things up. You can blend data. You can break it down by pivot tables, etc. It's free too if you have a Google account, so start using it. So this is just an example of what we've been able to do. This is something that our product team sees every day now in terms of feedback itself, all because we just use our resources of email and Google Analytics and Google Data Studio to provide us these answers very quickly. So it's easy. Get started. I mean, log in right now. You can probably build out an email pretty quickly. Make sure you answer those survey questions and take time on them. But ultimately, I hope that this helps you build out your kit to start learning about your users who are using your products every day. So with that, I'm really excited. I hope you guys have some questions. I'm going to stay around for a little bit to answer questions. So let me know. What do you got?